This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news of the business of podcasting, brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Thursday, June 13th. First up, ad nauseum, frequency, repetition, and consumer perceptions of podcast advertising. Sounds Profitable's latest study, conducted with Signal Hill Insight, surveyed 1,011 weekly podcast listeners to gauge how they react to podcast ads. When asked how they reacted to ads in the last episode of a podcast that they listened to, 68% of respondents listened to at least some of them. 51% find hearing the same ad more than once in a single episode annoying or strongly dislike it. Listeners don't find interesting, funny, or novel ads fatiguing. They do find a lack of variety in form and repetition of the same brand/message tiresome. In the words of Tom Webster during the study's debut webinar, quote, podcast listeners don't skip ads, they skip crap, end quote. Next up, advertisers are misinformed about the ad industry's misinformation problem. In the past 5 years, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University and Stanford University have sought to determine how often ads are served to sites that publish misleading stories, propaganda, or conspiracy theories, as well as whether advertisers accurately understand the issue. Only 20% of surveyed advertising executives whose companies ran ads on sites previously marked as false/misleading by industry watchdogs like NewsGuard and Global Disinformation believed their companies had done so. The researchers dubbed the disconnect a sense of, quote, false uniqueness, end quote, where advertisers tend to presume monetizing misinformation is an issue because other companies are buying the ad space, not them. Up next, Forbes launches first creator Upfront in partnership with Walmart. The new 2-day event emulates traditional TV upfronts with a content creator twist. Instead of TV executives debuting new content to attract advertiser attention, the creator Upfront will feature 20 to 25 content creators pitching marketers and agency executives on their value as potential brand partners, effectively bridging the gap between the IAB's podcast upfront and legacy media upfronts. And finally, Instagram's new unskippable ads may frustrate users. As previously covered, Meta has been running tests of a version of its image-based social media app, Instagram, that locks users out of the ability to continue scrolling for 3 to 5 seconds while watching an ad. Currently, the pace is 1 unskippable ad every 3 posts seen in a feed, or 3 stories viewed. Adding unskippable moments to an already ad-heavy feed is proving controversial, with an informal Android Authority poll of 530 people finding 87% of respondents will use Instagram less if ad breaks become a permanent addition. Podcasting, in large part, has had native ad skipping built in since the beginning, and as ad nauseum above found, audiences in large part tend to skip ads only when they're poor quality or repeated. As for the rest of the news, podcast hosting and marketing platform OSHA has become the first to be ISO/IEC 27001 certified. The British Podcast Awards have opened voting for the 2024 Listener's Choice Award, and Amazon and YouTube are battling for ad dollar dominance in this year's streaming upfronts. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The Download is written and produced by myself, Newton Shadolkati, and Brian Barletta. This episode is hosted on Spreaker. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.